Hello and welcome to Big Foodie Geek. I hope you're well. So today on the channel I am resurrecting a series which I started right at the beginning of the channel, really early on, which I hoped to be really a big part of the channel. And I haven't done a video for it in like 3 years. It kind of fell by the wayside with life happening, COVID, etc, etc. So I haven't really focused on this series for a very long time. But I'm bringing it back today because it is a series that I really wanted to do more with. And that series was called Video Game Grub, and it was basically me making dishes, iconic dishes from video game series. And I think I managed to do 3 videos before life just happened and I never really picked it up like I hoped I would. If I recall correctly, the 3 videos I did were the apple pie from What Remains of Edith Finch, toast curry from Pokemon Sword and Shield, and sweet rolls from Skyrim. Those were the 3 videos that I did, and I never did any more. But that was back when the channel was called Big Friendly Grub, and we're not called Big Friendly Grub anymore, so I'm not going to call the series Video Game Grub anymore. I'm going to call it Big Foodie Gamer, so that kind of fits in with the theme of this channel, or the same channel with this name. So I'm really hoping that this will be kind of like the resurrection of this series, and I'll start doing regular videos based around this theme because I'm a massive gamer, I'm a huge fan of gaming, so it only makes sense for me to incorporate that passion of gaming into the channel and bring my 2 passions, gaming and food, into one. So let's hope that this is the beginning of a more regular thing. And if I don't put these up regularly, let me know, kick my butt, and I will make sure I make more videos. And the first recipe that we're going to be creating on this resurrection of this series is Butterscotch Pie from Undertale. Or rather, Butterscotch Cinnamon Pie more specifically, because that's what it says in the game. Now if you've never played Undertale before, it is a 2015 role-playing game, a retro-looking 2D role-playing game, which is absolutely charming. It is wonderful. It was kind of like a little sleeper hit. I think it was made by one guy, and basically it came out with very little fanfare and people just really latched onto it. They latched onto the visuals, which are beautifully retro. They latched onto the music, which is absolutely amazing and so memorable. And it is just a brilliantly fun role-playing game where you play a small child who kind of like falls into like the depths of the earth where there is a magical barrier and where monsters were outcast. And playing as this child that you get to name, you have to adventure your way through this monster underworld to try and make your way back to the surface, and encountering all sorts of weird and wonderful colourful characters on the way. And you can either choose to fight your way up, which makes you a bit of a because a lot of these monsters aren't so bad, or you can choose to kind of like be nice and kind of talk your way out of things and just basically not hurt anyone on your way back to the surface. So your choices have consequences, and if you act like a complete then it will come back and bite you in the arse, much like real life, or what real life should be like anyway. As you progress through the game, there are various items you can pick up along the way, including food and drink, which have various benefits for you. But one of the very first ones that you can get in the game is the butterscotch pie. And you can get this from the lovely Toriel, who rescues you at the very beginning of the game. She has a very maternalistic nature, and she actually does try and get you to stay with her in her home, which is a little bit sinister, but I think she only has good intentions. But you're determined to get home, so you sneak out of her house and make your way through the monstrous lands in your quest to get home. But there's a very cute interaction at the beginning of the game where she basically calls you up on the cell phone that she gives you, because they have cell phones down in Monsterland, and she asks you basically, what do you prefer, butterscotch or cinnamon? And you give an answer. It doesn't really matter what answer you give. She says, I know you said you like butterscotch, but you're not adverse to cinnamon, are you? Because she's basically already made a butterscotch cinnamon pie, so that's what you get either way. But basically when you end up at Toriel's house at the beginning of the game, if you don't sneak out straight away and instead take a nap, then you can pick up this slice of butterscotch cinnamon pie which gets left in your room on the floor, which is not very hygienic, but nonetheless you get this slice of butterscotch cinnamon pie left in the middle of the room which you can pick up and take with you on your adventure. And it basically has itself described as butterscotch cinnamon pie, 1 slice, plus 10 health, so it will restore 10 health to you if you eat it. And that is what we're going to be making today. We're going to make the butterscotch cinnamon pie because it sounds absolutely amazing. The idea of butterscotch pie just sounds great anyway, and adding cinnamon to it just sounds really interesting. So that is what we're going to be making today for this episode of Big Foodie Gamer. That is what I said. Yeah, big foodie gamer. So I think this will be a really nice one to reboot the series, and I really hope this goes well, and I hope you enjoy it, because I'm really looking forward to doing more of these, to bring two of my passions together, gaming and food, because it just makes sense. Food and gaming is so intertwined now, whether it's recipes and food items in games, or whether it's just enjoying gaming with a drink and a snack and just living your best life that way. So I'm really looking forward to rebooting this series. I'm really looking forward to this recipe, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you think of these videos and hoping that I can do more of them. So let's get going with this first video in the reboot of the series, Big Foodie Gamer. Let's go! So the first thing I think we need for our Butterscotch Cinnamon Pie is a sweet short crust pastry. So I've got 250 grams here of plain flour, and into that I'm going to be putting 125 grams of nice cold unsalted butter. And I'm going to get in with my hands and just rub this butter into it until we get a nice sort of like sandy breadcrumb texture. There we have our nice sandy breadcrumb-like texture. That is pretty much perfect. And because this is a sweet short crust pastry, I'm going in with 40 grams of icing sugar to sweeten it up, and also a teaspoon of salt just to season it a bit. Mix that through as well. And then in the center of our mixture, I'm just going to make a well, to which I'm going to add 1 egg and about 3 tablespoons of milk. And then I'm just going to start to bring that together gently with a knife. Right, now I'm going to get in with my hands just to bring this all together. Let's tip this out of the bowl just to get all those bits of pastry there. Right, that's come together into a lovely pastry. So what we need to do now is wrap this in cling film and pop it into the fridge to chill for about half an hour to an hour. But thankfully, in true Blue Peter fashion, here's one I made earlier. So we're going to need to roll this out into our pastry dish, our tart tin, whatever you want to call it. I've got a 10-inch tart tin right here. So this is what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to need to roll this out to be bigger than this. So I'm just going to lightly dust my board here. And I'm just going to roll this out till I'm at a thickness that I'm happy with, and I'm also satisfied that it's larger than my tin. Right, that is plenty big enough. That is a nice size. So we're going to now drape this over our tin. Best way to do this is just to take it onto your rolling pin, drape it across like so. Get that tucked in to our tin, folded in. Oh, that rhymed. Now we're going to need to blind bake this to make sure it's fully cooked for when our filling goes in, because we're not cooking our filling, so we need to make sure that this is cooked beforehand. So I'm just going to dock the bottom, and I'm going to line this with some tin foil. Then in there we're going in with our baking beans, or in my case I use a mixture of baking beans and rice, because it really helps weigh everything down and get into all those corners. Then I've put that onto a baking sheet, and it's going into the oven at 180 degrees C for about 15 minutes. Right, my base has had 15 minutes in the oven, but it's not done because we need to bake it again without the baking beans in, so it can crisp up nicely. It shrunk down a little bit, but that's okay. And because I want this to be a nice golden crisp bottom, I'm going to give it a bit of a brush with an egg wash to make sure it crisps up nicely and gets a nice golden colour. This is going back into the oven at 200 degrees C for another 5 minutes. After another 5 minutes in the oven, you can see that has become nice and golden, and that is nicely cooked at the bottom. So I'm going to leave that now to completely cool down, probably maybe take about half an hour, and then we can come back and make our butterscotch cinnamon filling, which is the part I'm the most nervous about, because it involves making like a butterscotch caramel type thing, and those can be notoriously tricky. So we'll see how that goes, right? So we're now going to need to make the filling to go into this. For that, we're going to need two pans to make our filling. So these are going to be for 2 separate mixtures which we're going to combine into each other. One's going to be like a milky mixture, and the other's going to be like the butterscotchy mixture, which is going to be like butter and sugar, which we're going to melt down. So we're going to need to combine these two together, so that's why we need 2 pans. To start things off, we're going to need 3 egg yolks, just the yolks, so I'm just going to whisk these up and then just pop them to one side. So in this pan, we're going to do like a milky starchy mixture, which is going to allow everything to thicken up. So in here, we want 3 tablespoons of corn flour, 2 tablespoons of plain flour, about half a teaspoon of salt, and over here I've put 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon powder, because this is a butterscotch cinnamon pie, and therefore we're going to need this in somewhere. So I thought I'll put it in with the rest of the dry ingredients, so I'm not putting it in later, and we might end up with like a grainy texture from the cinnamon. So that needs to go into a saucepan, and into this we need to combine 400 millilitres of milk. I haven't got the heat on yet, we're just combining the milk with the flour, so I'm going to use a whisk. Be careful with your pans, not all pans can stand up to having a metal whisk used into them, but these can, so it's fine. You just might not like the sound, so I'll skip through this. I'm just going to add it in a little bit at a time. Right, now that I'm satisfied that that's got no lumps in it, I can pour in the rest of that milk. Then in our other pan, we're going to add in 125 grams of unsalted butter. And this is over a medium-low heat. And we're making a brown butter here, so we're going to melt this down until it's like a nice nutty brown colour. And that will give it a really lovely flavour. It kind of takes away some of the richness from it. So you might be able to see we've got a nice nutty golden brown colour on that now. So I don't want to give that any longer, otherwise it will start to burn. At this point, keep it on the heat. But now we're going to add in gradually 250 grams of dark brown sugar. So I'm going to add in a little bit at a time and just gradually melt that into the butter until it is completely melted. I've now got all the sugar in there, so I'm just going to keep stirring this around, moving it around until I'm satisfied all that sugar has melted. Just a lot of patience and love for this one, because that's what I imagine Toriel put into it. Right, that's combined together. So I'm going to move this off that heat. Now I've brought our milky starchy mixture onto that hob. I'm going to add our sugary buttery mixture into that pan. And now over this medium-low heat, I'm going to cook this until it starts to bubble and boil and thicken up, which should probably take about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, this is now bubbling and boiling away, so I want to get this off the heat. Then with our whisk eggs, which I've put into another bowl, we want to just add some of that mixture into this so we can slowly cook these eggs, but not scramble them before transferring them into the bulk of the mixture. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of this at a time into these eggs. Again, we're just cooking the eggs, we're not scrambling them. Okay, that's about 5 spatulas worth of that mixture into those eggs, so I'm pretty happy that those eggs are going to be cooked. So we get the rest of our butterscotch mixture back onto the heat. We'll add in the eggy mixture now, and then we're just going to bring this back up to a boil. And with this back up to the boil, off the heat again, then we're just going to add a splash, about a teaspoon's worth of vanilla extract, and combine that and just stir that in to our butterscotch mixture. I've got my pie case onto a sturdy board, so I'm just going to gently pour this in, fill up that pie case. That's pretty good. There's a little bit left, but I'm not going to add any more. I'm just going to give this a bit of a tap, try and get out any air bubbles and hopefully smooth off that top a bit. That is pretty much ready to go into the fridge and set up completely, which will take God knows how long. But then we can come back and taste it and see what butterscotch cinnamon pie from Undertale tastes like. Okay, there is our butterscotch cinnamon pie from Undertale, all set. It looks really good actually. It's set really nicely. I'm really happy with how that's turned out, especially how the pastry's turned out. It looks really, really nice. It's a really nice colour. Smells like cinnamon rolls because of obviously the sugar and the cinnamon. So it smells fantastic. So there's nothing else left to do but to take a nice slice, see how it's set like that, and then give it a taste, because I'm really keen to give this a taste. So let's get in, let's take a good slice that hopefully we'll be able to get a nice cross section of. So I'm just going to try and cut this as gently as I can. The other side, this is going to be a pretty big slice, but I don't care because I'm looking forward to this. Right, let's try and lift this away as gently as I can, hopefully without breaking it. Oh, look at that. That looks lovely. That looks really nice. Let's pop it onto a plate. One slice of butterscotch cinnamon pie. Oh yeah, I can't wait to tuck into that. So I'm not gonna. Let's give it a taste test. Once again, there is our butterscotch cinnamon pie, as made famous from Undertale. But of course, it's all about how it tastes. So let's see if this will restore 10 health points to me upon eating it. Goodness knows, I feel like I need it at the moment. I need a little bit of life restoration right now, and hopefully this butterscotch cinnamon pie will do it for me. So see how that slices through. Let's take a good wedge. Cheers. Oh wow, that is so nice. That is really, really nice. I thought with all the sugar and the butter in that, that would be really, really sweet, but it's not. It's not. I think because we browned that butter, it's helped, it's not made it quite as rich as it could be. And the cinnamon in that actually helps it as well. It gives that kind of like sweet, but kind of also sort of savory, spicy note that you get from cinnamon in it. And that is absolutely delicious. That is beautiful. Really pleased with how that's turned out as well. Well, there you go. Butterscotch cinnamon pie from Undertale, done. Big foodie gamer since I've rebooted this series, in the bag, and what a great one to start off with. That turned out really well. By itself, it's fantastic, and because it looked like in the game, it was just a slice without anything else on top of it, that's why I made it like that. But that would be definitely really nice with a nice blob of cream or something with it as well. So happy with how that's turned out, and I'm so happy with this first video back in this series, and I'm really, really pleased to have started it up again. So I do really, really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it entertaining. I hope you want to see more videos in this series. If you've got any ideas of what I could make in this series, then please let me know. If you're a gamer, if you're into your food, if you want to see something, want to see me try and attempt something, then I will give it a go. I will add this to the playlist of these like gaming food series so you can see what I've done, and hopefully we'll add to it over time, because this is something I really want to grow on the channel and see how it turns out. And hopefully I will get a nice playlist of these video game inspired foods and see what else we can add to it. So I really do hope you enjoyed this video. So if you did, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to find out when new videos are going up, and I will see you next time on Big Foodie Geek, and hopefully for another episode of Big Foodie Gamer. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye. There once again is our slice of butterman? Once again, there is our slice of butterscotch cinnamon pie as made from Undertale.